we've touched on a lot of things. One thing that we can probably sum up here as far as rationale pretty quickly, but I would like to dig a little deeper into your experience with blending yeast, blending these thiolized yeasts, and potentially with Kveik strains.
Yeah. So again, another tool. So that is. We started, Brian and I, my boss, Brian, it started kind of with we released this new beer last summer, and it's kind of become now our summer seasonal. But it is a blend of Voss and Cosmic Punch. We are mash hopping, and we're trying to achieve, this light, citrusy summer beer. And I think that's where it started. And being Belgian focused, we have also, experimented a little bit, but with further experiments to come with Belgian strains. Specifically, we're talking about like triples or golden strongs. Just throw in some passion fruit, guava, those tropical things. A little like notes to like a golden strong might be nice.
Well, and that's exactly where my mind was going, because like a lot of times, and maybe we might have some Belgian gurus in the chat that might want to slap me for saying it, but in my mind, when I think golden strong, I get like white fruit in those. Like, so like white fruit, like cool. as in like pear, yeah. like a little bit of apple, and not like green apple or anything like that, but those like more subtle white fruits. And so it's like that was the first Belgian style that I thought, well, so if you can fold some passion fruit into that, and obviously we're talking about something outside the range of style, right? I mean, but that would be super compelling. But yeah, so you're talking about potentially doing some blending with Belgian yeast as well.
Belgian yeast, and what else, man? Kveik's been the biggest. I mean, that's what we're doing the most, but it's been the most intriguing in the sense that, in theory, they both can put off a lot of esters and now thiols.
Sure.
So, but, working, with the current one that we're working with, it's Voss and Cosmic Punch. So we're like pushing Cosmic Punch to the higher end of its ferment and Voss to the lower end of its ferment. So
sure.
That's kind of been interesting to work with that, and then potentially, harvest and do a cell count and look at it, and not that we can look at it and be like, oh, that's Voss, oh, that's Cosmic Punch, this is a good mix. Sure. But just trying to figure out at what generation one strain kind of takes over has been our biggest concern.
Because you would figure that would be some of the concern, right? Is that something's going to be slightly out competing? And my guess, and I could be wrong, my guess is
Voss
is going to win, right?
All day.
Voss is going to win.
Even at a colder temperature. It's so robust.
And that's the thing. I remember when I started connecting the dots on some of this stuff, because I've made probably 150 batches of beer with Voss / Hornindal or what have you. And when I was researching that stuff, it's like you realize, well, okay, so those beers are slightly more acidic than others. Not like a ton, sure, but they produce a touch more acid. And I never realized, and maybe it's a dumb guy answer, but one of the first things that happens in the ferment is a pH drop. And and like when you zoom out from like an evolutionary standpoint, it's a way to outcompete, right? So you're going to drop your pH immediately, so you're going to be out competing some other things. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's the way that those Kveik strains ultimately, and then the vigor of the ferment, that's the way those Kveik strains stay quote unquote pure on Kveik rings and stuff like that, where it beats everything to the punch. Other stuff might be there, but it's gonna beat them, right? And so it's pretty fascinating. Yeah, So yeah, so you're using some blends of that, and again, it's back to that idea of using it as a tool, potentially using blends to dial back some of the expression.
That's been a fun thing for us to do. And if I'm sure there's other yeast labs out there that do similar things, but we work with Omega. I can't say exclusively, but we work with Omega quite often, and they're really fun to work with. And you can tell them what percentage of the blend you want. If you want 70 Voss, 30 Cosmic, or vice versa, or whatever.
Yep.
You can do that, and they'll do that for you, and it's amazing. And
well, I would go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they are super resourceful. I don't mean to like shout. I do mean to shout out Omega, because
go for it, man. That's great.
Anytime we talk to them, they're super helpful, and they want to make sure that they send exactly what you want out to you. So
sure,
they are a great yeast company.